Hi, everyone. Welcome to History on Trial. This is the Psychology of Identity. This is Dr. Tracy McCarthy, psychologist, attorney, and educator. And we are going to be continuing with this series related to the Amorites, the Amori, the Amori. And what we're going to do is we're going to take a little detour before we go any deeper into the identity in terms of the naming and the culture. And so we're going to look at the dispersion of the Amorites, the Amorine. We're going to look at this east-west dispersion. And so it's sort of an Asiatic oriental dispersion out of the east into the western portions of the world. And so what we're looking at is we're going to be looking at three dispersions actually. And so, but we're going to just look at one right now, and we're going to look at this dispersion, which would best be understood as sort of an Amorite, Mongolian dispersion. And we're going to look at what happens when this takes place. You have a dynamic where those individuals become the quote-unquote original or indigenous or settler people in certain regions. And when this takes place, then they are able to assert naming rights. And you'll see this all over the place with the naming, using this name or variations, those cognates of Amorite. And so you will see that in this situation. And so we're going to look at one, and there are three, and we're just going to quickly go through this so that you can get an idea of how this dispersion has taken place and how far this dispersion is. It's very, very far and wide. Remember, this is a dynamic of being ubiquitous and prolific. And if this appears on anything other than Dr. Tracy McCarthy, it is stolen and unauthorized. Let's get started. Okay, so let's look at this Amorite diaspora. So we're going to call this the diaspora. There's a dispersion. And so the three that we are going to look at are the dispersions related to Siberia. So the AMUR or AMUR people out of Siberia. We're going to look at their cousins, the Arabian AMUR and the African AMUR. So this is all Amorite dispersion just in different places, and you'll see the naming dynamic going on there. So we are going to start off with the Siberian dispersion. So remember, we're talking about the Amorite / Mongolian dispersion. Some people call it the Mongolian invasion. And so that's what we're going to be looking at. And some people, of course, are going to note that Siberia has Iberia in it. And many people attribute a number of dynamics when they see Iberia in any form or fashion. They automatically assume it means Hebrew. And we're going to address that issue also, because that's not necessarily the case. And as a quick reminder, here is another depiction. If you haven't seen part 1 and part 2 already, here's another depiction that looks very much like the Amorites in the East. And you find this depiction that looks like them in Peru. And so this is an American rendition. Now, the first thing we're going to look at is some research related to the Native American Y chromosome and the Siberian affinities. And so this goes along with the theory of the migration from the Siberian area into the Americas. And what they are showing is that Y haplogroup, that male father to son DNA, is showing a relationship between the people who were in that area in Siberia and the people that are in the Americas, often thought of as the Eskimo people, but also people in Central America and parts of South America, and so the Americas. And here the research talks about that affinity. And one of the interesting things for you to note when you read this, and you can read the entire article, but you can actually stop this and look at it on the screen. One of the things to make note of is that this relationship is coming from what are known as the Amur tribes from Siberia, that area. So that's sort of China, Russia, area, you have this lower AMUR River, and then you have the tribe. So you have the AMUR people that are in this particular area, and this genetic affinity is related to people from that area. And so the people that migrated are thought to be the AMUR people. And you can see here that there's a notation that these are the people who crossed over into the New World, and this gave rise to the predominant Native American lineage. And so this would be the AMUR people. And in this text, you can actually see some of the artwork of the AMUR people, the ancient art of Russia. And so you can actually see depictions that are also related to some of the depictions that we've seen of the Amorites. And here in the text, you can see these depictions related to eyes, images of eyes, extremely large eyes. And this is synonymous with what you've seen with the Amorites, the Amori, the Amori in the other discussions. And if you want to check this out, you can see it's really interesting, the contents. And so you see the Nefertiti of the AMUR, you see the animal, the bird as the creator of the world. And so this is very interesting because of the depictions that have been provided in terms of these excavations of the Amorites, the Amori, or whoever is being represented as them. And so you see this focus with the AMUR of the bird being the creator of the world. You see information about the great serpent, about the spiral patterns. And again, with this focus of the bird being the creator of the world, it goes along with these depictions that are very owl-like and that we've already determined. And here you see, this is a book called The Russians on the AMUR, and this is about the discovery, conquest, and colonization of that area by Russia. And here's some information related to the AMUR River in that area, and you can see that it goes by a number of names, and one name for it is the Black Dragon River, also known as the Black River. And you can also see Karamuran, and so that's also one of those cognates that we've talked about related to the Amorites. And so we're going to look at a depiction in terms of the map so that you can see where this river is located. And here's information related to the expedition, and you can see it's commenting that the Russians made the first settlement at the foot of the Ural. This is important because Ural, that mountain range, that is named again related to the Amorites. When you see that you are related to a deity, and so you will frequently see that. You'll see Ural, you'll see Uru, so you'll see a number of cognates again. And so this is interesting because it's related to the AMUR River, and this took place in the 15th century. And so then you have other things taking place in the 16th and the 17th century. And here's additional information related to the Ural Mountains. And so you can stop this and look at that. There's also a river in that area. And here's a really good map. If you stop it, you can see this is the regions of the AMUR, and this is Siberia. And this is a colored map, so this is a little bit better. So you can see the AMUR River, and you can see it running through China, and you see it going into Inner Mongolia and Mongolia. And so this is definitely a Mongolian river, a Chinese river, and you also see Russia up there. And here you see notations related to the AMUR tribes in that area, and they are identified as nomadic. And as you can see, the AMUR tribes are ancient, and there's a notation that the tribes inhabiting these regions are mentioned for the first time in the Annals of China, 1100 BC. They were known by the name of Suchi or Zucheu. This does sound similar to some names that you do find in the West that are related to this particular group of people. And you can see here that some of the tribes are described as having usual Mongol features. And those features include prominent cheekbones, small eyes, sometimes flat nose, what are described as large, thick lips that have a dull red color. Complexion is fair and ruddy. And so you see the color of the hair and the eyes identified basically as black. And here is additional information related to the culture of the people. Now let's quickly look at some of the depictions of the people. And so this is one cultural group or one tribal group. And here is additional information describing them as tawny in terms of skin color with brown hair, and they may or may not shave their heads based upon their actual social class. And there's also information about the physical appearance of the females. And here you can see another depiction of another tribal group. And this is another depiction of a tribal group in that area. And here is yet another depiction of a tribal group in that area. And as you can see from looking at a number of these depictions, you can see that phenotype similarity appearing in other places outside of that area. In particular, some of the areas where you see those depictions related to the Amorites in Peru, Central America, of course, with the Alaskan natives. And here you have, again, another notation related to the appearance of the people, the shape of the face, the eyebrows, the beard. Now, we've reviewed some of the dynamics related to the east-west dispersion of the people who appear to be Amorites or Amuri or Amuri. Their names are the AMUR tribes. And so we've looked at this dispersion. We've looked at one dispersion, and it's been the dispersion coming from the east to the west, coming into the Americas, related to the people of the Siberian area. And so what we're going to do now is think about some alternative hypotheses related to the naming of America. There is an assumption that the name America came from Amerigo Vespucci, but of course that's also another one of those cognates of Amorite or Amuri or Amory. But what you see here is another group crossing into the Americas with this same name. So you have this cognate again. And so this may be another explanation for how this name made its way into the Americas, particularly when you look at those depictions of entities that are supposed to be in Peru. And so the final thing to think about is that sometimes what is understood as a Mongolian invasion may actually just simply be an Amorite invasion, and that's what this looks like. Remember, knowledge is power. Take care. See you soon.